Howdy, everyone. Christine here, and I am at Consensus with Joshua Lapidus, or Ox-Josh, as his name tag states. Hello, Josh.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well.
Thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
So, we were talking earlier. You go under several different hats in the crypto space. Tell us a little bit about why you're here at Consensus and who you're representing today.
Sure. So I'm a core contributor at BitDAO and the senior partnerships lead for Mantle, the Ethereum L2 of BitDAO. The other hats that I wear, I'm a founder of Opolis, a member-owned employment cooperative that helps many of the people here access, health insurance and pay stubs and a W-2. And I'm also a steward of SporkDAO, which is the parent DAO that owns ETHDenver. ETHDenver is the largest Ethereum event, but it's also the only community-owned event.
So that's very interesting. It's owned by the DAO, ETHDenver is. And what does it mean to be a steward? Is that just a member who is in charge of a particular area?
That's a really good question. So it is a member who's in charge of a particular area. I'm a member of the board of stewards, so there's 9 stewards that kind of oversee management of the DAO. We use the word steward instead of like executive or officer, because it's more about responsibility to the role, to the DAO, than it is ownership over the DAO.
Okay. And is this your first Consensus?
My second.
Okay. But your first one with BitDAO?
Yes. I actually started here about 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about BitDAO and what they're hoping to receive out of being here at Consensus.
Sure. Yeah. So BitDAO is the largest DAO-owned treasury. I don't know how much is in the DAO at this exact moment.
And when we say treasury, it's owned in dollars or stable?
Yeah, a mix of stablecoins, ETH, and BIT, as well as some other minor tokens.
And BIT is your native token?
BIT is the native token of BitDAO, yeah.
So you were saying it's the largest DAO-owned treasury?
That's correct. Yeah, something like somewhere between $2.5 and $2.8 billion.
Wow.
Is controlled by the BIT holders.
And do they vote on what happens to that money, or are they investing it in different projects?
Yeah, so BitDAO has a forum. I think 20-something forum proposals have passed and have funded various autonomous entities like Game7, EduDAO, ZKDAO. I can't list all of them, but that's a good start. People who hold the BIT token can go into the forums and discuss the proposals, various investments or creations that we want to move forward. And then they'll go to a snapshot and cast their vote for or against any given proposal.
Very interesting. And where is it based? It's
ethereal.
Right. It's decentralized, but is it organized in a particular country? Or not really? It's so transnational that...
I actually don't know if BitDAO itself is registered anywhere. I know that, or I think that the exchange that helped to stand up BitDAO is based out of Singapore.
Okay.
But I don't know about the DAO itself.
And which exchange was that?
Bybit.
And so, but you've been in this space for a long time. You've been with BitDAO just for a short time, but you've been doing this for quite a long time. Tell me your history in the crypto space.
Sure. So I was at Lyft for about 3 years, and I was watching 25 cents out of every dollar just be vacuumed out of these communities.
Really?
Yeah. And it goes. I actually did start as a driver, and then I was at corporate doing user acquisition, driver growth, and I got to meet tens of thousands of drivers, all who had very similar stories about like not being able to afford healthcare, putting all of their money into their car. If there was some sort of wreck, like they were just stuck. There's no unemployment because you're self-employed. Right. There are a lot of problems. And then Lyft goes to IPO, and the investment bankers made a fortune. The early employees and investors made out like bandits, and the drivers and passengers got nothing. And at the time, a friend had already, orange pilled me. And so I had Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum, because those are the only things you could get on Coinbase at the time. This is 2017, 18. I started kind of digging down the rabbit hole of shitcoins and trying to figure out, like, is there somebody who's working on decentralized rideshare? And so this is kind of how I got crypto pilled the first time. Lyft IPO'd, said you can find another job at the company or you can fuck off. I did. I found a desk job in San Francisco, but I had been through a Consensus Academy course, and my friend was like, no, like, don't do that. The space is blowing up. Like, you should come work here. And this is 2019, and, like, it's a bear market. And so to hear somebody talk about the space just continuing to build and continuing to grow, like, that's not what I had seen as a simple retail shitcoin investor.
Right.
And that was the fall 2019 was really the transformation of me from a just retail to, like, actually being in the space and realizing that there are, and if you look around Consensus, like, thousands of people who work in the space. Consensus with a U. This was Consensus with a Y that hired me. So I got hired onto Panvala, which was a grants giving DAO, like probably the first one at the time. A few months later, Consensus does this thing where they hire too many people and then they have to cut back. And so I was part of what I think people consider the third great culling. And this was February, and I went to Denver to find another job. And I walked around after I got my Cobra packet saying...
What's your Cobra packet?
Cobra was when you leave a job, a company has to extend you the same healthcare plan. It's a government program.
Oh, yeah, Cobra, the health insurance.
So I got my Cobra packet, and it was like 6 times more than what my insurance was, because that's what Cobra, it's your insurance, but it's not subsidized. Yeah. So I'm walking around East Denver going, has anybody in Web3 figured out health insurance yet? And everyone's like, you should go talk to Opolis. So I ended up as a steward and founding steward of Opolis. I was the first employee member of that product, and then also ended up working for East Denver.
So how many different DAOs have you been a part of?
It depends on how you define DAOs. Hundreds.
Why don't you define
thousands? Oh, man. So my favorite definition of a DAO is like a group chat with a piggy bank. And it's like the most simplistic and ideal, like, anything can be a DAO. It doesn't need to be some big company. It could be the bunch of us around here want to go get drinks, but we want to put it on one tab, and we all put, $100 worth of ETH in a pot and then decide how to spend it later. It's not a particularly... It wouldn't be a particularly good use case for it, but it is a thing we could do. But I've been parts of hundreds, anything from pooling funds to buy an NFT to investment clubs to Raid Guild, which is a DAO that of Web3 mercenaries who get hired to build projects. So they're developers. So there's that's the category that we call service DAOs.
What are the different kinds of categories? So there's service DAOs. Are there investment DAOs?
Yes.
Social DAOs?
Yeah.
All of the above.
Yeah, any sort of adjective you want to add to the beginning, I'm sure that it exists.
Interesting.
But a service DAO is very different from like an investment club, because it's mocking a company and trying to replace a corporate structure. And that's the one that I think is the most important for how we get from where we are now to, like, replacing American Airlines with some sort of DAO Airlines.
Do you think it'll happen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
Because...
What's the value add?
So there's a gamification that needs to exist inside of capitalism. You look at Starbucks, and now they're innovating with Odyssey, which is this, like, loyalty program. Mm-hmm. And companies figured out that if they gamified loyalty programs, they could get customers to keep coming back. Mm-hmm. Started with a punch card, now it's apps and stickers and whatever.
Yeah.
And the SEC is kind of the only thing standing in the way of this. But, and here's my but, when these companies can actually distribute value to loyalty program holders, they can't now, because that would be a unregistered security.
Right.
Giving money away to the American people is protecting them from securities laws. Great job, Gary.
Well, it's interesting because the securities, part of the reason that Gary Gensler is saying that Bitcoin is decentralized enough not to be a security and everything else he's thinking is a security because it's organized by a team, right? And so there is enough, the Howey test, right?
Yeah.
Is it made or broken by a team? And if so, then you need to disclose who the shareholders are and you need to know who that team is and all that. With a decentralized autonomous organization, the idea is that it's absolutely no team. It's absolutely decentralized. But some of those things that you're describing...
So I would disagree that there's no team. There's definitely, DAOs do have core contributors that are team members.
Does that have a centralizing effect on them?
I don't think so, because it's people who work for it, not people who own it. So this is why we use steward. And it's not, so I'm not an owner of SporkDAO because I'm on the board of SporkDAO.
Right.
I'm an owner of SporkDAO because I have a certain number of shares in the DAO.
You're a member.
Yeah. And the DAO, which we have coming up in a few months, will have elections and I will be replaced. Or not. I don't know. Maybe. I would like to be reelected. That'd be nice.
Well, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
You enjoy it.
I do enjoy it. Most of it. Yeah. A lot of spreadsheet work.
What do you think about the regulatory landscape? I know that in Texas, we're working on a DAO bill to articulate how it would be seen. What do you think? We were talking earlier about how you kind of envision, was that more on the federal level of how you classify this new...
So I think the DAO bills are a great step forward, but they're not something that we can pass and then rest on our laurels and say, we did it.
Yeah.
I think happened in Wyoming, where they're like, yes, we turned this LLC into a DAO thing. And it's like, okay, but how many DAOs that actually identify as DAOs use it? Yeah. And so passing DAO legislation and giving DAOs that do want to operate inside of the confines of the structure, that's great for them. In Colorado, we use the Limited Cooperative Association, an LCA. Co-ops have been around for hundreds of years. And when you start to read, what is a co-op, you're like, wait a second, this kind of sounds like a DAO. That's because DAOs, or co-ops, are DAOs with a legal wrapper.
Very interesting.
And so I don't necessarily think that there needs to be DAO laws, but if we could update some of the cooperative law or start using the cooperatives in this way, I think that'd be a stronger foundation for DAOs.
Well, Joshua, how can our listeners get in touch with you or follow you? Are you on Twitter?
Yeah, I am.
Learn more about what you're doing in the DAO space and beyond? Sure.
I'm on Twitter, 0xJoshuaSL, because 0xJoshua was taken. And then on Telegram, I'm F0xJoshua. My DMs are always open because I think that being approachable is kind of an important aspect. And then if you are interested in building on Mantle, it's mantle.xyz. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, of course.
Pleasure hearing about your work. And thank you to all our listeners. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, and follow us for more.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. We had a great time here at Consensus. At the Texas Blockchain Council, we are striving to be the nexus between traditional industries, banking, finance, legal, energy, and the digital asset industry. So we want to help you get your brand in front of those kinds of companies with B2B opportunities. Reach out to us if that's of interest for membership or for sponsorship at the summit. Hope to see you there in November in Fort Worth. Thanks again. We look forward to seeing you at the summit.